Welcome to the Workamper Show, brought to you by Workamper.com. This podcast helps you discover how to finance your RV travel dreams. Each one of our episodes will introduce you to people who are already living the RV lifestyle or to work camping opportunities all around the U.S. You'll also learn how to hit the road the right way and make the most of every opportunity. Now let's turn over today's show to your host, Greg Gerber.
Today we're going to talk about the important topic of retention and why it is critical for employers and work campers alike. Today's episode is sponsored by Workamper News, much more than just a job listing website. When you put the tools of this professional service into action, you'll find out just how easy it can be to turn your work camping dreams into reality. A Workamper membership opens the door to a one-stop shop for all things work camping. Being the original resource for work camping, you'll find the largest number of job listings, be able to connect with a community of work campers, and view resources compiled by experts who've been enjoying the RV lifestyle for many years. If you're serious about leading a successful and enjoyable work camping lifestyle, then membership is for you. Join today at www.workamper.com. Embark on new adventures today with the support of Workamper News behind you. This week I'm joined by Jody Anderson Duquette, the owner of Workamper News. Jody has been a part of the Workamper community for many years. She's been helping employers and work campers to build stronger relationships and to create positive experiences in seasonal and part-time jobs. In our conversation, Jody shared valuable insights about why communication and relationship building are so important between work campers and employers. That's especially true in the weeks and months between hiring and the actual start date. She explained that many work campers line up jobs 5 to 12 months in advance, which leaves plenty of time for employers to strengthen connections before anyone arrives on site. For employers, every returning work camper means less time and money spent recruiting and training new people. For work campers, returning to a trusted employer reduces uncertainty and creates a sense of belonging in a community they already know, and creates comfort regarding a system for which they are already familiar. Jody's perspective shows that building strong communication systems isn't just about logistics. It's also about creating a culture of trust, familiarity, and excitement that benefits everyone. To tell us more about why relationships and retention are so important, please welcome Workamper News owner Jody Anderson Duquette to the show. Thanks for joining me today, Jody. I really appreciate the time. We're going to talk about a topic that is of interest to employers and to work campers, and that's improving the lines of communication to ensure that everybody is expecting the work camper to arrive when he or she said they were going to arrive. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing that's unique about the work camping lifestyle and the communication between the two parties, the work campers and the employers, is there is usually this interim time period of weeks, even months, even up to a year where the work camper and employer talk, agree they think they're going to be a match, but the job doesn't start for X amount of time. So what happens in those weeks or months in between? And we here at Workamper News, based on input we've received from both parties over the years, think that period of time should be utilized. And so today we want to talk about some things more so that we would recommend the employer to be doing in that interim time to help with the relationship building from the get-go.
I'd agree. It's something that impacts all of us because it's so important that people honor these commitments because the work camper employers really depend on work campers. I don't think some work campers realize just how mission essential work campers are to the success of their business.
Oh, absolutely. And especially some of the smaller mom and pop organizations that maybe only hire 2 to 10 work campers. They need all the boots on the ground to make that operation flow and go through their season or through their year. For them especially, it's imperative that people honor their commitment as best as possible. Larger operations, I'm not saying that gives free rein for work campers to just ghost them or blow them off, but if you have a workforce of 200 and you have a few fallouts or whatever, that's always going to happen. But I think businesses in the range from mom and pop organizations to the larger entities that do hire hundreds of work campers, employers of all types can benefit from the types of tactics that we're going to talk about today to develop their Workamper program and make it more of a positive one.
I agree. Do you think the problem is more work campers not showing up when expected, or have you ever heard of a work camper showing up and the employer didn't expect them?
It's just from hearing from our employers, there's always that time of year when we hear from them that work campers didn't show up, never answered their phone, never answered any of their emails, just wouldn't communicate, or last minute dropped out. Oh yeah, sorry, something came up, and so now we can't come. So we do hear about that. We hear sometimes work campers will think they have a job lined up, and then they go to the job and they get there and the business has been bought and has new owners, or there's a new management company in place, or returning work campers decided to come back and that employer didn't have the respect, basically, to communicate with the work campers they had hired to let them know that changes had taken place. And so that's why the main thing we're going to talk about today is keeping the communication lines open. And so that's important, as we've shown here, for the employer and the work camper to have those lines open. Either party can be alerted to any changes or things that may come up, because that's the nature of this. It's people and stuff happens. We understand things come up in work campers' lives. Death happen, illnesses happen, RVs fall apart, kids need things that they didn't realize they were going to need and stuff. So life happens, and that's understandable, but the work camper needs to communicate that to the employer as soon as possible, and vice versa. If there are changes on the employer side that would affect the work camper hires that are supposed to be coming, that needs to be communicated as soon as possible as well. So
it's more about relationship building, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing that most work campers report as that intangible benefit of work camping. Oftentimes when they talk about an experience they had, it was positive. It was positive because they fell in love with the owners or the managers, or they had the best coworkers, and those people became lifelong friends, like family, things like that. So that's really something that we talk all about. Oh, compensation and wages and locations are great or whatever, but those relationships are at the core of the positivity of the lifestyle and the great experiences that people will have.
It's almost,
so if we can, go ahead.
It's almost like a marriage, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what we've talked about. We have a course at workamper.com for employers that's like taking the mystery dates, that old mystery date game. And yeah, so we have a course built around that idea. But absolutely, yes, employers and work campers are essentially courting each other. And then once they get through the interview process, and if both decide they want to give this a go, the employer will ask the work camper to marry them, essentially. And if the work camper says yes, then you're engaged. And yeah, today we're going to talk about some tactics and things to do in that engagement period before the work camper arrives. And in that engagement period, like I said, about 62% of work campers will line up their positions 5 to 12 months in advance. 20% or so work campers start looking 3 to 4 months in advance. And employers will understand work campers like to do that. And so we do see recruiting happening pretty well in advance. And so we've got a good chunk of time then for the employer, especially, to be reaching out to that work camper to familiarize themselves and start building that relationship, familiarity, comfortability, etc.
Would those relationships also help in referrals eventually for future work campers to come to work for those companies?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for those operations that require a larger number of work campers to operate. That's a great way to find more applicants. You've hired this great couple or a solo work camper. You're like, hey, do you have any RVer friends that you think may also enjoy coming up, spending the season with you, enjoying our area, or doing this type of work or whatever? That's a great way to get connected and buffer your applicant pool. On the flip side, it can be a little nerve-wracking because maybe you do hire some work campers. Those work campers bring in some friends or bring in some family members. Things don't work out with one or the other. You might lose all of them. That's not necessarily likely going to be happen. You don't want to not take action on that for the fear of that. So it is something that we would recommend integrating into your systems. to develop a referral program with the work campers that are going to be coming to you and haven't yet worked for you, as well as your past work campers, and utilize them as a referral network, etc. And we have some other articles about that in the employer newsletter at workamper.com and in some of our videos.
One of the important parts of this relationship, or having the communication before the job starts, is that it enables the work campers to hit the ground running, doesn't it? It familiarizes themselves with the operation and with the area, and more importantly, to set expectations.
Yes, for sure. Now, a lot of things should have been covered in that hiring process. If everybody's following the instructions we've given as far as getting all of the questions laid out and doing a work agreement and all of those kinds of things, hopefully most work campers have all the information they need. The employers have all the information they need, and they've covered a lot of bases that way. But in this interim time, in the engagement period, like we've been talking about, that's a good avenue to begin some orientation, some training. Dive deeper into some of the policies or the systems you have in place. Okay, work camper, I know you're going to be on our housekeeping team. Let me give you some more details on what some of the systems are. And because every operation does things a little bit differently, even if you've worked for, we'll just take the example of campground, since that's the main business type that hires work campers, but there are certainly lots of other business types that do. But so at a campground, maybe you did housekeeping at XYZ campground, but at ABC campground, yes, you're still doing housekeeping, but things are probably going to be done differently. As an employer, you need to, especially with those experienced work campers, to make sure the work camper understands how you want things to be done. And so instead of maybe burying them with all that detail in the interview process, now you have the opportunity to start sharing more of those details and just exploring the processes, schedules, how things are going to work. You can start seeping that information in ahead of time. And like you said, then when that work campers do arrive, they're a little more ready to go, and you're not having to spend as much time going over all of those details. And yes, I understand how the schedule works. You don't need to explain it to me. I know when it's going to come out, where to look for it ahead of time. You don't have to go over that. And so hopefully you can iron out some of those details ahead of time. And
it's also a good opportunity to schedule things or time that you will need off while you're working there. So if they know in advance that you have a wedding in July, that you have to go away for 2 weeks, they can prepare for that, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Especially if those things have come up since you agreed to be engaged with that employer.
Right.
If things have come up, yeah, you're like, oh, I need to maybe come a week later, or yes, I'm going to need some time off, or things like that are definitely good to cover as soon as something has maybe changed about the original agreement, or you need to add on to that original agreement. You want to bring it up as soon as possible.
I think it'd be a great opportunity for employers to build excitement as well, and let the work campers know how excited they are that they're going to be part of the team that year, and that they want to get to know them, and start the process of getting to know each other. Start sharing information about the campground, its values, etc. The things that they might be able to do in the area while they're visiting, so that the work campers can start planning to have some fun.
Yeah, because it's always a little scary as a work camper, especially if you're going somewhere you've never been before. Yes, you can read online and watch videos of people who've been to different places, but you're still stepping into something that's a little unknown, and that can feel scary. So the more an employer can help those work campers feel comforted and feel like they know what they're stepping into, that's just going to start everybody off on a better foot. The work camper wants to know when to be there ahead of time and what to expect when they get there.
Is it important to look at the various venues or opportunities to communicate between people? Because some people love text messaging, others can't stand it. Others will look for emails so they can have a record of it. Is that important to consider?
Yeah, absolutely. So getting into some of the different ways that you can communicate with the work campers, there is some agreement that needs to take place ahead of time. Most people can do texting on their phone. It doesn't cost people money anymore. It used to be an extra fee, but most of the time now it's just included as part of the phone plan. But that's just something to an employer and a work camper should be covered in the initial communications that you had done during the interview process. One thing an employer may not have covered is if the work camper's up to receiving any kind of mail, like USPS mail. As an employer, you may want to physically send them a few things, which we'll get into what that might be later. So you definitely want to check with the work camper ahead of time. Hey, I want to mail you something. Can you please send me your current mailing address? Because that mailing address that's on the application or employment forms is more likely their domicile, and they may or may not be getting mail there. Might be a mail forwarding service, and it would cost the work camper extra money to have it forwarded, and you don't want that. It is good for the employer to verify ahead of time the best and acceptable communication channels.
That's a very good point. I never thought of that. Having the work camper saving the money by mailing directly to wherever they are right now rather than going through the mail forwarding service. It would certainly be faster, that's for sure. What about the problem of when one party goes silent or they start ghosting the other? They're not responding to the messages that are being sent out. Is that a warning sign that there might be a problem?
Oh, yeah. I think we can all agree that's the case. And that's another one of the positive reasons for employers and work campers to make an effort in that time frame is to be alerted to any kind of changes. Employers who've been hiring work campers for many years know stuff comes up, and work campers can't always fulfill their agreement, which we talked about. But for an employer, if you're reaching out to the work camper, you've sent them texts and those texts show delivered, or you sent them emails and they're not replying, or you sent them in the mail and then you never heard that they received it and you're just not hearing back from them, that's a fairly clear sign that something's gone awry. Whether something came up in their life and it was just so dramatic that the work camper's not able to communicate, or they are not so great people and they found a better offer and they're ghosting you. That's definitely a reason why employers would want to put some of these communications in practice, so that way there are signs that can point you and alert you sooner than later that this work camper isn't going to show up. And just dripping at them in that time, in that interim time, will help the work camper remember, oh yes, I made this commitment. So hopefully you're more in the forefront of that work camper's mind. So if something does come up, one of the first thoughts is, I need to let this employer know that something's come up. There are tactics that employers can take if they do have last minute openings, but it's never fun to have to recruit that way. So
it'd probably be a good idea for the work campers to also let a family member know that they are where they're going to go next. So if there is an accident or they wind up in the hospital, the family member can reach out to the employer and say, hey, look, we've got a change here. They're not going to be able to make it on time or at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a really great idea. And something too that I think just everyone in general should do is we all have these online things now. We have emails and we have social media accounts and we have subscriptions and just all this stuff. Hopefully you maybe have a password manager that you're utilizing to keep track of your logins to all of these things. And so hopefully then give a trusted person in your life the login to your password manager. So they don't have to have the login for all of the things, but if they have the login to your password manager, then hopefully they can get into things like your email and get into banking, turn off subscriptions, things like that. Mm-hmm. Who you've entrusted to handle things like that. So even at a minimum, just having a trusted person be able to get into your email, and they are going through your email inbox and they're like, oh gosh, there are emails from this employer. They're supposed to be going to a job. I should contact them and, hey, let you know that, oh, I'm sorry, my loved one has had this thing happen. They're not going to be able to come, kind of thing. So even at minimum, just something like that. But it's super. There's so many cloud-based services now where you can store documents securely. If you have, here's our plan, our 2025 plan, and you just lay out your general travels, where you think you're going to be going, where you're going to be working, contact information for those places, and share that with your loved ones. So yes, if something awful does happen, hopefully it doesn't, but at least then your loved ones can take quicker action on your behalf.
It's a great point. Thought to the frequency of this kind of communication. Should employers be communicating with the work campers weekly, monthly, quarterly? What do you think?
Sure. Yeah. And it's going to vary I think you don't want to overwhelm. The employer doesn't want to overwhelm the work camper and annoy them to death. So I wouldn't necessarily, if you've got like a 6-month period as the employer, I probably wouldn't contact my work campers, but at least maybe bi-weekly, at minimum monthly, on a monthly basis. And again, it's going to depend on the type of operation that you are. If you're an employer and you're hiring 10 or less work campers, it'll be easier for you to do some one-off personal emails, personal texts, do a little phone call here and there. If you're an employer hiring 20, 30, 50, hundreds of work campers, obviously those individual touches would take a lot more of your time. It's possible that the larger operations, you might be able to delegate some of those tasks to the managers. And so if manager X and manager Y, you guys are going to be in charge of these work campers. So I'd like you guys to communicate with the work campers that you will be managing. And that also gives the opportunity then for the work camper and the manager to begin communicating and building that relationship, because they're the ones that are going to be working together anyway. And if they haven't yet communicated and there is going to be some kind of personality mismatch or something, that may come out ahead of time then, and that then perhaps maybe action needs to be taken to change the engagement, as they say. So bigger operations may be able to delegate that to managers or supervisors, or even have some work camper leaders. If you have some work campers who've returned for multiple seasons, they really know how things are going. Most often when work campers are community oriented, like talking to people anyway. So maybe you could designate one of your work campers to take on that role of communicating. And one avenue, just especially if you're going to designate a work camper leader, something that's easy and usually free to do is creating an online space. So maybe you do like a Facebook group or a Reddit forum or some other online forum. And you as the owner or the manager, your work camper leader, whatever, becomes the administrator of that space. And in that space, you can invite work campers who've worked for you in the past, work campers that you have hired and are going to be coming to you. And then those folks can start to communicate amongst themselves, answering questions like, what was your RV site? Was there a tree? Is my satellite going to work? Where should I put my Starlink for the best thing? Or what was the washers and dryers like? Or those little piddly questions where you as an owner, I don't want to have to answer any of these questions. Let the work campers answer those amongst themselves. But you could do so much online with sharing links to local businesses and, oh, hey, I went out to eat last night. Here's a picture of my meal. It was really good. You guys should check out XYZ restaurant when you come. Just little fun things like that you could do in an online space like that, or you could put that stuff into an email. Or again, if you just have a couple work campers you're communicating with, just send them a text and be like, hey, here's a view of the sunset from the RV site that you guys are going to be parked at. Looking forward to having you come. So again, depending upon the size of your staff, you might be able to do some little quick things, or you may need to create a bigger system for this communicating.
I had never thought of that, but that'd be a really good idea for an employer to send a work camper a photo of the site in advance where they're going to be set up, so they can start planning to where their information is going to go and get excited about the view if there is one that they're going to have. But it's also important to realize that it's not all work related. And the communication can be happy birthday or a holiday greeting, etc. That Merry Christmas, we're looking forward to seeing you in 4 months, that type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And just think about, from put yourself in the work camper shoes. Like, you accept this job in November. It's not going to start until April. Christmas comes around. You get a quick text. Hey, what's your current mailing address? I'd like to send you something. And you send it back and you go, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden you get this box from the employer that you're going to, and in it is a nice little card. And then maybe it's like some cookies from a local bakery and a cool hat with the town name on it. Little things like that. Again, putting that work camper in the culture of the local area before they're even there. Mm-hmm. And one thing too, employers, go to your Chamber of Commerce and see what your Chamber of Commerce is doing. I know this is more prevalent in like touristy areas than it is everywhere, but Your chamber may have an annual touristy magazine that they put together with articles and ads for local businesses and stuff to do in the area. Or maybe you are a touristy enough area where you go into a gas station or the chamber visitor center, and there are all those brochures for all the different stuff to do in the state. Grab a bunch of those brochures for what's nearby, shove it in a box with a couple cutesy things, and send that off to your work camper. Think about the impression you would make on that work camper, or you as a work camper receiving that kind of thing. These people haven't even met me in person yet, and they're already going out of their way to make me feel like part of the team. Think about the attitude that work campers now going to have when they arrive to your operation. They're going to walk in and just be like, hugs all around. Not everybody's going to be like that, but it's certainly going to set you off on the right foot. Now, of course, if you're hiring 150 work campers, you probably don't have the budget to send out 150 gift baskets, but again, it's still just doing little things, especially if you're like Yellowstone General Stores, for example. They have multiple stores throughout Yellowstone. As an HR person, I might go to one of the stores, take out my cell phone, and just walk around and take like a 1-minute video just showing off the store, or go to one of the employee campgrounds and just walk around and, oh, here's the shower house, here's what it looks like. Because some of those things the work camper won't be able to find just by Googling you, looking at reviews and like Google Photos or photos on your website. You don't always necessarily get the full picture. So even the employer just taking a couple short videos of the space, and upload those to a YouTube channel. Make yourself a little YouTube channel and start putting those little snippets of videos on there. And then send the link to that video to the work campers that you've hired. Then, when you're recruiting again for the next season and you start getting applicants coming in, you can say, hey, applicant, go check out my YouTube channel over here. Here are a bunch of videos I made for our previous work campers showing off blah, 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 blah. And then you're getting even more value from this work you've already done and giving your applicants even a better experience of the hiring process. So some of the stuff that you're doing for these engaged work campers can then apply and help you with the application process for future filling of positions.
I love the idea of sending them a link to a calendar of local events that are going to be taking place that would be available from the state tourism department or the Chamber of Commerce, so that they can start planning to attend some of these things, or the unique attractions that are in the state that they'll want to go in and explore when they get there. One thing that work campers and work camper employers can do to really help the work campers is send them driving instructions, especially if it's in an area where Google Maps might be routing them to the fastest way to the location rather than the most RV-friendly way.
Yes, for sure. And you may have some of this information already on your website that's geared towards your customers and helping your customers get there. But don't assume that the work campers saw it. So giving them, specific, are there low bridges that may have a weight maximum that they would be concerned about, or even just a route that has like a really sharp curve. There was one, we got off on this exit and it had this crazy curve. But luckily I had read reviews from other campers. They said, go to the next exit, then you don't have to deal with that curve. It's just those little things. And that's a super easy email to put together. And something, too, that we had talked about is you could utilize, if you don't want to be manually sending all of these emails, sign up for one of those email sending services, MailChimp, I don't know, there are a million of them out there. And you can create these emails ahead of time, set them up in a sequence, and just input the work camper's email once you become engaged and you have permission to email them. Plug their email address into your email system and let those emails that you scheduled just go out automatically once a week, once every other week, etc. So then it's a hands-off kind of process, but you're still getting the information out to them. And what's cool often with those kind of systems, you can go and look at that contact in that system and see if they've opened any of the emails. And so if they're not opening any of the emails, it could just be the data wasn't reported, or they're not getting your emails and they're not getting the information. So then it's time for a phone call. Hey, are you getting my information? I've been emailing you stuff. And the Workamper's like, yeah, we got it, or no, I haven't seen it. Because email's not less and less reliable sometimes. It can be really iffy. I wouldn't just rely on email. I would try to intermix some phone calls or texts in there as well. I don't just dump them into a Facebook group and expect them to get all the information they need. So it may require a few different touches.
The best part about using those email scheduling services is that you do the work once, and then you can just initiate the sequence the following year, so that it automates every 5 days or 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it is. They send out a different email, and you don't even have to go in there and review it. It just gets done. What about sending an employee handbook? Is that an idea to do before the person arrives, or is that unlikely to be read before they get there?
And that's a good question. You can, of course, send a PDF or a link to a file if you do have your employee handbook online. But some people just really, even for doing this fall today, I printed out my stuff on a piece of paper because I want to look at it on a piece of paper. So for a lot of us, we just need this tangible thing and we're more likely to look at it. So I don't think it's a bad idea. Again, if it's in the budget and it makes sense for you to mail that kind of thing out, I would encourage you to do. And some of the stuff is then also a test for the Workamper. So you as the employer, if you've sent out the handbook, you've been sending some emails, they're getting your emails, they replied to your texts, etc. They're receiving all of this information that you've been sending to the Workamper. But then the Workamper gets there and they don't understand how the schedule works and they didn't get the driving instructions and took off part of their air conditioner getting there. So they're really mad, or they don't understand certain things that you've covered in the information that you sent them. Then you have a better idea of who this Workamper is. And okay, they're here and I need them to work, but now I have a better understanding of how much time I'm going to need to put into getting this Workamper on the right page to flow and go in my operation. It's also a little bit of a pre-assessment for an employer to see how engaged that Workamper gets ahead of time as well.
It could also be used by Workampers to check the responsiveness of the employers, I would imagine. If they are sending questions about the site or the company or the local area and not getting any responses either.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And again, like we said, sometimes emails don't go through. And so sometimes it could just be a breakdown in technology. So I don't want people to just immediately assume, oh, the employer didn't reply to my one email.
Correct.
I'm not going to go. I don't want you guys to think that necessarily. It could be true, but sometimes it's just a technology breakdown. But anyway, yes, as a Workamper, if you're asking questions and not getting responses and stuff, then that could be a red flag for you as well. And we don't want Workampers. No one wants to spend umpteen amounts of dollars in gas to drive to that Workamper opportunity and have it just be a total mismatch and not work out. But yes, it can be the same for Workampers as well.
I guess my point was more that it's also incumbent upon the Workampers to be engaged in communicating with the employers, so they can do that by asking questions in advance so that they're maintaining that level and establishing that trust and relationship already.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I would imagine the key point of all of this is to identify problems early. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And like we talked about, identifying any issues ahead of time, and if those issues are squashable or not squashable, and just developing those relationships so both parties can move forward with confidence and a comfortability. Everybody wants things to run smoothly. So what can we do ahead of time to set ourselves up for success?
And if there is a hole in it, is there a way to get that filled fast?
Yeah, that is the nature of the beast. Every year we have employers that come up with immediate needs, and sometimes that immediate need is just as the season is starting. Sometimes it happens in the middle of the season. Somebody needs to leave or you need to let someone go. But here with Workamper.com, we do have our hotline system, and employers can submit an ad. We usually get it out the same day. And with our hotline system, what's unique about us is we take your full help wanted ad text and email it directly to Workampers. We do post it on our website as well, but it's going right to that email inbox. And we also have in our resume database, that's our employer gold members can do unlimited searches in our resume database. And we have multiple different search criteria fields, but there are a couple date fields there. So you can use those date fields to try to find work campers who are more likely available right now, to hopefully connect with them and try to fill those holes sooner than later. And again, lean on your team that you have now for referrals. Hey, do you guys know anybody who might still be looking or is maybe going to be traveling through the area? Or even in your local community, just try to use that referral networking base to try to fill those holes. Yeah, we're happy to help employers, whether they're recruiting months in advance or try to get positions filled right away.
And it's not so much the work camper doesn't show up as expected. The needs can change for other reasons. Campgrounds are highly connected with each other. And so somebody might be doing something really cool and they'd say, it would be nice if we had an activities director next summer to plan some of these things for our guests. And we'd never considered that in the past. Now the employers can go to the Workamper resume database and see who has expressed interest in working in that area, who might have those skills, and extend an invitation, which is a huge way to recruit. To immediately feel, hey, wow, they must really want me if they approached me about working for them.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, very good point.
Super. So what else, anything else that people need to know about communicating before?
I guess I know we talked about a lot here, and from an employer standpoint, especially if you're the owner operator, that might sound like a lot. Like, oh, I just put all this effort into recruiting and interviewing, and that was a lot, and I need to get my business going and I got to do all this. Oh, and it's tax returns and all this stuff. And what I just talked about sounds like a lot of work. But again, it's just developing those systems. And once you have that system in place, it's a lot easier to work it. And you'll fine tune the system as you learn things and how you do things. And of course, this type of communication system won't necessarily work for every work camper and employer, but just try to do your best. Because as we talked about, you just want to set yourself up for success. And that typically means setting some things up, having a schedule, having a system in place ahead of time instead of just flying by the seat of your pants.
I would also caution both parties, work campers and employers, not to rely on just one type of technology. But because things can get lost in the mail, spam detectors can reroute things immediately to other email boxes or not even deliver them at all. So if somebody is not being responsive, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and actually call the individual. And just if they want an immediate response, they should call, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, it is crazy. I know it's hard to believe, but these square things that we carry around and send all these text messages and social media stuff on, you can actually dial and hear someone's voice on the other side. It's crazy.
Amazing technology that's developed over the years. I don't think people are aware of it or forgot all about it. Yeah, super.
True. Pretty cool. But ultimately, like we talked about, this is all just relationship building. And if you start that relationship building early, even before the work campers get there, you continue it throughout the season, which we have some articles and information on our website at workamper.com if you'd like to learn more about how to do that. Then you will more likely give a positive experience to that work camper, and hopefully thus they will be a positive staff member on your team with your operations. And the better all that goes, the more likely that work camper is to return.
Exactly.
And that's less recruiting for you in the future. The stronger relationship you can build now and really get that person functioning well on your team and knowing your systems and liking your culture, then they become someone in the community that is a positive beacon for you, but also a returning staff member that will keep that culture and positivity alive on your team and your operation. So lots of positive reasons to put in the effort ahead of time.
I know the workamper.com website is full of all kinds of information. Are there specific resources that you would recommend to either employers or work campers?
Absolutely. For employers, we do a bi-monthly newsletter called the Employer Connection. We do physically mail that to our employer members. Like I talked about, we like having this piece of paper to read, but we put it online as well. We are transitioning soon to the new version of workamper.com. So right now at workamper.com, things are a little more broken up. We have a newsletter section, we have an article section, we have the media library with videos, and we have some online courses as well. And that's for both sides, Workampers and employers. When we do transition to the new version, you'll just want to look for that knowledge base. And in the knowledge base, there will be categories, it'll be searchable, and we're just organizing all of the articles and the videos in that knowledge base area. Yeah, lots of different stuff. And of course, we have this podcast that we've done for years now. Greg, thank you so much. So lots of great input in past episodes and hopefully future episodes going forward. Articles in our blog you can see on our website as well. So yeah, we're here to help both parties succeed in this lifestyle. Whether you're the work camper looking for jobs, you're new to it, or you're an experienced work camper. As an employer, if you've never hired work campers before, or you have in the past, but you just need to enhance your recruiting and make a stronger program, that's what our tools and resources can help you do.
Excellent. Thank you for your time today, Jody. I appreciate it. As always, you're a wealth of information, and I thank you for sharing it with us today.
Happy to help, and we wish everybody happy work camping and safe travels.
As Jody Anderson Duquette explained, retention is critical for work campers and employers. Some of the top takeaways from this conversation include consistent communication matters. Employers who check in regularly, even with something as simple as a text or holiday greeting, help build trust and keep work campers engaged. Relationships are the foundation of success. Beyond pay and location, work campers often remember the friendship and sense of family they develop with employers and coworkers. Beginning orientation before arrival saves time. Sharing handbooks, training materials, or even short videos in advance helps work campers to hit the ground running. Small gestures go a long way. Sending a brochure from the local Chamber of Commerce, a picture of the work camper's assigned RV site, or a short welcome video can help reduce anxiety and build excitement. Finally, referrals multiply success. Happy work campers often bring friends or recommend an employer to others, which creates stronger applicant pool in future seasons. Strong communications before, during, and after a season helps identify problems early, manage expectations, and build the kind of loyalty that keeps work campers coming back. When employers put in the effort to connect, whether it's through simple texts, mailed welcome packets, or scheduled check-ins, they create a foundation of trust that encourages work campers to honor commitments and to return for future seasons. Employers who focus on retention by nurturing these relationships will often enjoy smoother operations, happier teams, and a reputation that draws the best work campers year after year. More information is available for employers and work campers alike on the Workamper.com website. Why not take a few minutes today to connect with your future employers and work campers to start building these important relationships? Today's episode is brought to you by Workamper News. Since 1987, they've been helping businesses of all types to find and recruit work campers. Work campers serve in a variety of positions around the country to help further the mission of great businesses. When you become an employer member at Workamper.com, you'll have access to resources and support to help you develop and implement your work camper recruiting strategy. In today's job market, it's more challenging than ever to keep a flow of applicants coming in. Workamper News recommends advertising your current and future work camping job openings frequently throughout the year, as well as scheduling some time to regularly search the Workamper resume database because new work campers are joining daily. Work campers like to plan many months ahead, so now is the time to take action to begin developing your work camper team. Learn more and download our quick start guide for employers at www.workamper.com/employer. That's all for this week's show. Next time I'll be speaking with another employer who is looking for work campers next spring, and I'll have that interview on the next episode of The Work Camper Show. Thanks for listening, and if you like these interviews, please consider leaving a review wherever you download the episodes.